Hello, my name is Michael Edwards, and this is the first video of my demonstration of resistance training concepts. Before I get into my demonstration of the exercises which I chose, I wanted to discuss two issues. One regarding training progression, and the other being the selection of the exercises you want to incorporate into a resistance training program. When it comes to exercise progression, it's much similar to other types of training that we've been discussing. Resistance training must progress through different stages. They should incorporate the same stages that we've been talking about with the OPT model: the stabilization, strength, and power. But there's one type of staging that comes up with resistance training that's particularly important. That's called periodization. A trainer should create a program that consists of small phases in which the work done in a new phase builds upon the muscle adaptations that were achieved in the previous phase. It's very important to have a deliberate, tailored planning of each stage to progress the client slowly, but still maintain progress that allows for improvement in performance, but also prevents overtraining. The concept of adaptation originated from a theory first referenced by Hans Selye, entitled General Adaptation Theory. It basically works like this: the goal of the human body is to maintain homeostasis. Whenever the body is active, homeostasis is threatened, and that naturally activates the body's recovery mechanisms to return to that homeostasis. Usually our metabolic systems generally address this. For example, when we exercise, our body temperature increases. So to make sure that our body doesn't get too hot, the body immediately causes us to sweat and cool off. Selye's theory was, he believed that causing the body to be under stress forced the body to adapt, which in turn resulted in the body better handling that same level of stress in the future. Much like our homeostatic processes, muscles must be confronted with something which requires them to respond, and that something is stress. So the body reacts to stress in the same pattern in 3 steps. The first step is the alarm reaction. This is where the body recognizes that a stress is being pressed upon it. It's the shock portion, if you will. This triggers the response of the homeostatic systems. For example, when you finish a set of lifting very heavy weights, your body reacts to the shock of the lifting by increasing your oxygen intake and your cardiac output. That's why you're huffing and puffing, and your heartbeat increases. The second step is resistance development. And so during those initial few workouts, you may not see this stage very much, because your body is still in shock when you push it into a new workload. And this brings up the concept of DOMS, which essentially is just your body being in pain as a result of this new workload. You experience this for the first couple of workouts, but after those workouts, your body begins to adapt. It gets the message, if you will, that these stressors are going to become a constant. Thus, it starts this adaptation process. Increases the efficiency in which it recruits the muscle fibers that you need to do the work. For example, if you're doing a running training or sprinting training, your body starts recruiting more type 1 muscle fibers. If you're a weightlifter, then you get the type 2 fast twitch muscle fibers that you'll need to build your muscle strength and your hypertrophy, if that's your goal. In addition, vital resources such as oxygen and blood are more efficiently transported to the active muscles. So that makes your muscles more efficient, more able to do more work in less time. And it also prevents exhaustion of the muscles as well. So in short, your client will eventually start performing better, and you'll start seeing apparent results. Hopefully, they will stay in that stage, that recruitment resistance development stage. But if care is not given to avoiding excessive workouts, then the client will fall into the third stage, which is exhaustion. In this stage, the stressor, the exercise, has become too much for the client's body to bear, and the body begins to fail, leading to muscle strain, joint pain, and usually serious injury. The line between resistance development and exhaustion can be crossed in several ways. One way is by poor selection of exercises. If you choose exercises, usually focus on certain muscle groups. For example, you have chest exercises and you have arm exercises, and more specific, like triceps exercises. And if you choose exercises that are all focused on that same body part or muscle group, then you're going to have immediate exhaustion of that muscle group. For example, you shouldn't choose a set of dips followed by a set of tricep push downs, because that's going to work on the same muscle group. Or you shouldn't do a plank and then follow it up with a set of crunches, because then again you're going to exhaust your abdominal set of muscles. Another way to cause exhaustion is through excessive sets. A lot of times, you see a lot of people suggest doing multiple sets in their workouts, doing of the same muscle, of the same exercise. And while that's effective for challenging the body and creating more endurance, if you go too far, that can also lead to exhaustion. And the third way and this is the most important way, this is the part that the text discusses a lot, is working out too soon after doing a workout. Not giving yourself enough time for rest. The rest period is probably the most important part of a resistance training program, because that's when the magic happens, as you may say. It's when when you're resting, your body is recovering from the damage from the muscle fibers that you used during the stress. And so that's why it's so important, and why they say often when you finish a resistance training workout that you should intake protein immediately, or at least within 45 minutes of finishing the workout. That's because those proteins that you're taking in are immediately going to be used. They're going to be immediately used to rebuild those muscles that you broke down during your workout. And so those kinds of things are what's going on while you're during that rest period. And so your body has to have that. If it doesn't have that, well, then your body will be on the brink of exhaustion, and it will stay in that period at that point. And if you work out again, then you will reach exhaustion, and then you'll have those same problems we discussed earlier. Therefore, it's crucial that trainers progress their clients through their training in a manner that slowly increases the intensity through increased amounts of sets or more challenging exercises that varies in muscle groups that it targets, and with sufficient time in between workouts for rest. And that brings me into the issue of exercise selection. That really focuses around the concept of specificity, the SAID principle, if you will. That principle tells us that the body's response to exercise is complementary to the type of exercise in which it's forced to perform. And that kind of goes back to what we were saying before about the body's response to maintaining homeostasis. If you want to maintain, the body wants to maintain homeostasis. So the only way it can do that is by adapting to better handle the new stressor that's being placed upon it. By that logic, we can manipulate the body's response by manipulating the stressor that we put on the body. So for example, if your goal is to build endurance in your muscles, and you choose exercises that challenge your muscles endurance. If you want to build the size of your muscles, and you choose exercises that are focused on that will make your body react by recruiting more muscle fibers to build up that muscle that you're trying to grow. So in that way, we do have much control over the body's response. But make no mistake, the body will respond in a way to maintain its homeostasis. And so you have to be able to understand what the body is doing in its response to better be able to craft a workout regimen to get the kind of results that you want. So when it comes to exercise selection, you should choose exercises that specifically target those muscle groups your client wishes to improve. That being said, you also need to choose exercises that specifically do to those muscle groups that the client wishes to have done. Also, it's important to choose exercises that challenge the client, but it's not too difficult. You have to keep in mind the type of clientele that you're dealing with. The types of workouts that you may assign to someone in their 30s may not be appropriate for someone in their 60s. And also someone who has certain health risks, certain problems with joint stability, things of that nature also have to be taken into account when choosing the types of exercise that you want to do. And most importantly, you should choose exercises that can be modified to progress through the stages of the OPT model. Some exercises are kind of a challenge to figure out exactly what stage of the OPT model they fall into. It doesn't mean that those exercises should be chosen, but there definitely should be some incorporated into a workout where they are for sure able to be progressed through the stages, because it's very important that you maintain the stage, the stability, the strength, or the power stage that you're at for that client, because again, this is the only way that the body can progress in a suitable manner, that you're avoiding injury and that you're getting the results that you want. Because again, to build muscle strength, you have to have stability, because you're using the stability of your body to perform the versions of the exercises that will build on that strength. Without that stability, you can't perform those versions of those exercises. Same goes with power. So it's very important to follow this model.